There we go.
The ferry.
Right, Bob. Go on now.
Right.
Bob Haddo
and Chris Atkins are here looking at a ferry arriving from Pentland Firth.
And me, Dave the Rave,
and Dave
Roving
is
Rock.
Dave's the film star.
Oh,
and we've got some lights on. There we are.
Great, that is good. I can see who I'm talking to. And you two are both long-time residents here?
Yes, and we've been involved with ferries for many years, I think. Is that right, Chris?
Well, been involved for a while and
yes.
been a very frequent user for 26 years.
Just a short term, you know. Yes.
And Bob, you've been at King's Cross since 1947, I know that.
Yes, and I was born and brought up in the ferry in Cordon, Lamash.
Okay, so we're here at the pier because we're watching the arrival of MV Alfred.
That's some light.
The catamaran.
Yes, the first catamaran to be used on service. The Pentland, she came down before, but she is not on the service to Arran, and we hope this one will be on the service to Arran very soon.
Yeah.
She's been chartered with a crew for 9 months, and we think that during that time she'll make a big improvement in the service and be giving us more reliability than the Isle of Arran, which we expect her to replace.
Very old vessel, 40 years old roughly now.
Yes, the Isle of Arran, yes. Well, this one built in 2019, so she's getting on a wee bit too.
Yep.
And she's been pretty regular on the run that she's on, although she has bad weather up there as well.
Up in the Pentland Firth, that's where she's running.
Yes, the Pentland's pretty dangerous.
She's going between Orkney and Caithness ordinarily.
Yes, most of the time.
And her route's been taken over by
MV Pantolina.
Pantolina, yes.
The smaller one. And
okay.
The smaller one's doing 4 trips a day instead of the usual 2.
The 2. And you've been on this ferry, haven't you, Bob?
Yes, we went visited as part of our interest in ferries. One of the other members and I visited Orkney and met and talked to the owner for quite a long time. He's a very powerful man and has quite strong opinions about catamarans versus monohulls.
A lot of people do have.
Yes, it seems to be that we're catching up with the rest of the world. We seem to use them more.
This is great, Bob. This is actually quite exciting, isn't it, to see this catamaran coming in here.
Now.
There are no catamarans on the whole of the west coast of Scotland getting used.
Correct.
So this is a big deal, isn't it?
To be fair, there is one that crosses from Goort to, basically from Goort to Curn, but she's a tiny wee passenger vessel.
Yeah.
And she's actually chartered by that.
Come on up to the railing here, Bob, and we'll get a better look at it. Isn't that wonderful? And the reflections in the water as well, it looks magnificent. And there's been a debate going for 16 years from what I've heard, Bob, because they've been passing it backwards and forwards, the advantages and the disadvantages of catamarans for all these years.
Yes.
And what are the advantages of catamarans, Bob?
Well, mainly I think they are very different and difficult to navigate because they're so wide and shorter, and they have certain unusual situations, particularly the engines. The engines can be replaced quickly and the drive systems can be replaced quickly.
Right.
Whereas a monohull, the engine is buried right into the bottom of the ship. So an engine change for a catamaran can be as little as 2 days, and that means that they actually have a spare engine. There's 4 engines compared to 2 on a big ship.
Right.
As far as it goes, the great issue which is coming up now is whether or not they are green.
Right.
And the greenness is of course concerned with fuel consumption. So from that point of view, fuel is the most important element in the cost, and basically catamarans can save Calmac. If they had all our big ships as catamarans, they would save nearly half of fuel consumption, which is quite high. If we're going to go green, we really have no choice. Most monohulls cannot be improved in their fuel consumption, and the lead sannets are certain hopeful additions. The stern arrangement is slightly different, and of course she's to use gas if they ever get the gas system correct by Lloyd's requirements.
Right.
So in the meantime we're looking at catamarans for most of the inner islands, and then test to find out if they are good seakeeping vessels on the
Yes.
outer aisles and
Well,
storing
that's
away
the thing,
buoy.
because that's what they say, you know, is the potential disadvantage. They're better in shallow water, not so good in the stormy
Yes.
water, but this is a proven track record, of course, up north.
Yes, but
And-
you must remember there are a lot of catamarans in the Caribbean, in Mexico, in particularly in the Far East, Korea, Philippines, Indonesia, all have fairly high numbers of catamarans serving the islands, and also we've seen some now coming into Lanzarote. The Lanzarote Forteventura run has one competing with the monohull.
And this one will take 98 cars, which is just slightly more than MV Caledonian Isles, which is on this route, and or 55 cars and 12 commercials,
Yes, yes.
and a passenger capacity of 430, I think it
Yes,
was.
roughly 430, depending on the circumstances.
Yeah.
The passenger capacity was not a crucial element in the ordering
No.
of this ship, because the run to Orkney doesn't have the same number of passengers,
Yeah.
the average, as we have here.
We've got a problem with car capacity here, this is the thing, so really this is ideal for that.
As you can see, she's quick to the earth. She's coming into the berth
Coming
now.
in, well, coming into the other side there with the concrete ramp, so we'll probably go up there and have a look in a wee sec, Bob, and see how the vessel.
Well,
got
this
in.
is the most difficult ramp for her to couple to, since there's no link span. She's got to come in probably on the tide to suit that other side, as does the Isle of Arran.
And she's been this vessel's been chartered for 9 months for 9 million with crew.
Yes, it's a very different charter from the normal marine charter, which is called a bareboat charter.
Bare bones, that's right. Heard of that.
And this one means that the owner, for his 9 million, has to provide everything.
Everything.
Crew, maintenance, painting, food, accommodation, and Carmack simply have the ship at their disposal.
Yes.
As in
All inclusive.
All inclusive.
So it's not really just a rental price for a vessel.
No way.
There's a lot more involved
Yes.
there.
Especially if there's any breakdowns.
right.
It's a major amount of busy people around, doesn't it? Bob, who are you?
I'm just dictating it.
So what we were saying, Bob, this vessel would cost it did cost 16 million to build in Vietnam in 2019, but it would cost 25 million now approximately if it was built in Europe,
Yes, oh yes.
which isn't comparatively very expensive, is it?
No, I think in a way, the way that they're constructed means there can be savings in cost wherever they're built.
Yeah.
But the argument is always Far East prices, same with your cars,
Yeah.
Far East prices versus European prices.
Yeah.
The design is a design made really by a Scotsman in Australia who sets up the business of designing catamarans.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's nice to see it seems to be in. So we go around the other side, Bob, and have a look. So I'm standing above the berth that MV Caledonian Isles usually uses, looking back at Brodick Terminal and Brodick in the distance. Very misty day, nice and calm, kind of drizzly, and MV Alfred is just coming round just now. I'm going to come back into view in a wee second. While I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm going to talk about the big story of the day at the moment. And that is to do with the fact that 60 passengers had to be evacuated from MV Pantolina off the coast of Orkney last night as it became grounded following the detection of smoke in the engine room. Now MV Pantolina is the ferry that this one, it replaced this one on that route, so the question mark is the terrible luck that MV Pantolina is running aground. Does that mean now there's a question mark over MV Alfred and our chances of holding on to this ferry? I'll read the story. The MV Pantolina only returned to service on Wednesday. The operators, Pentland Ferry, said the vessel was grounded in St Margaret's Hope with 56 adults, 3 children and a baby on board, and that all passengers were safe. Those on board were taken ashore by an RNLI lifeboat, The Rail and Maritime Union issued a statement. We are aware of a major incident on board MV Pantolina which has run aground, taking on water with a fire in the engine room. All passengers and crew are reported to be safe and accounted for. A thorough investigation will be needed to establish how this major incident aboard the Pentland Ferries vessel occurred. MSP Halker Johnson tweeted saying, "This is the boat which has been brought back into service to allow CalMac to charter the MV Alfred on the West Coast route." And then he spoke to Gary Brown and Lauren Haston, who were on the ferry. He said, "We were sitting in the lounge and Lauren, who's pregnant, was feeling lightheaded, so we went up onto the sun deck to get the fresh air. When we got there, we saw there was smoke coming from one of the engine rooms and there was an alarm going off in the area where they drive the boat. One of the staff members shouted to everyone to hold on, they were going to ground the boat. Then the boat pulled up to the shore just before the dock stopped. We got told to go to one of the lounges on the opposite side from where the engine was. We were given bottles of water. We were told that if we wanted anything from the car to go and get it and come back. When I came back, everybody was getting handed life jackets, and I thought this had escalated a bit. We were put on the lifeboats and taken to shore, and the emergency services were waiting for us. We were taken to a village hall and given tea and biscuits." So there's a major question mark over MV Alfred's continuing availability in the Hebrides after it ran aground. So in a statement, Pentland Ferries said the MV Pantolina is grounded in St Margaret's Hope. The vessel had 60 people on board, all are safe. It is understood water was also taken on in the engine room, and the RMT Union has called it a major incident. So there you go. That's the news regarding Pantolina. So, fingers crossed we'll hold on to this vessel. But that's a big question mark. Just to tell you a little bit about this ferry again, MV Alfred. It's a Pentland Ferries catamaran. It was built in August 2019 in Vietnam. It cost 16 million to build. It has cost 9 million to charter for 9 months, but that's all inclusive with the crew and everything that's needed to run the ferry. It would cost around 25 million to build now if it was being built in Europe. And this is a big deal because there aren't any catamarans on the west coast currently being used. So this is a trial of a whole new type of vessel really for the west coast routes. Here has been mooted as the potential base for this ferry. It's 85 metres long. It can carry 430 passengers, that's about the same as MV Alfred. It can take 98 cars. You can see from here it's an open car deck for a lot of it. So the lorries would go in the middle of the boat and the cars would go into 2 lanes at each side under the overhangs. You can see a sign on one of the overhangs that says 3 metre maximum, so that's the maximum height of anything going under there. But you get high vans and cars and everything under those overhangs. And this is a handy boat. It doesn't have any raised decks to waste time getting up and down. The only problem is it's only got one door, so vehicles have to either reverse on or off or turn on the deck. I'm told that commercial vehicles usually reverse on and smaller ones can turn around and drive back off. So it would take longer to load and offload for that reason. But there are other catamarans now being built with a door at each end, a roll on, roll off. So that's not necessarily a problem if you're talking about this being a benchmark for other ones. There is a way around that with other catamarans. So you're not stuck with that long term. 98 cars. It's just slightly more than the capacity of MV Caledonia Isles. When MV Caledonia Isles was built, it could take 120 cars. But cars have got bigger over the years, and now it's down to 93 cars is the capacity without any commercials. So it's lost about a quarter of its capacity, just with the changing size of vehicles. Of course, motorhomes and vans and things, you got a lot more of them. So this one takes 98, so it's comparable. MV Alfred takes about 55. It used to be 76 when it was built. Again, it's come down about a quarter. There we go. I'm going to go back now. The advantages of this catamaran, or any catamaran, is it has a big capacity to take cars for its size. The passenger capacity isn't so high, but that's not really the problem. Most of the routes that we have are short on car capacity because people want to take their cars nowadays. It's not such a big deal for foot passenger space. It's cars people trying to get booked on and struggle to manage. They're cheap to build and cheap to run. They're efficient to run, and they can also go at greater speeds than the mono-hulled ones. Approximately speaking, maybe 18 knots as compared to 14 knots. So they can be faster, and they're good in shallow water. There's a question mark over whether they're as capable as mono-hulls over in more stormy water. This one was on the Orkney to Caithness route. And Ayr is meant to be the potential base for this, but that's not all been decided yet. We'll just have to wait and see how these trials go, and this is the key moment here, because this is us coming right up to the berth, and it seems to be sitting nicely in there. See what happens when the car ramp comes down, of course. As Bob Haddle was saying yesterday, this vessel's only got the one ramp, so you've got vehicles going on one side of the ramp and passengers going on the other side, where that gate is. And they're segregated by that little gate which would open and let people on. So it's quite a wide ramp. We'll just have to see how they get on. At least it's here, catamaran in the right berth at Brodick. That's a big story. It's just unfortunate that the other big story is the one with the MV Pantolina exactly at the same time. So the night before this happens, the same night as this vessel arrives in Brodick, we have the big story with MV Pantolina. And by the way, I can't imagine what it's like being a non-swimmer getting taken off into a lifeboat and onto the shore. It must have been quite scary for them. So that's a big story. A fire in the engine room, taking on water, running aground, all these three things together. That's quite a big deal. So that's extremely unlucky. Fingers crossed that doesn't mean that we'll lose MV Alfred, but I'm not sure. Time will tell. As they say, all you can do is worry about the things you can control. Fingers crossed that this vessel stays with us and they find some other solution up there. Although it was described as a major incident, so I'm not so confident on that one. Right, just now the ramp has been taken up. That's the ramp, car ramp, which is operated from the ground. I'll just show you, I'll zoom in. So that ramp is moving and it's been raised to the right height for the vessel that's here. I think that's them just finished now. Yeah, stopped now. So our ramp's in the right place. What will happen with theirs? Making some adjustments. Got the port manager, Paul McCord, and the supervisor, Catherine McBain, over there, looking on, standing in the rain. Oh, now they're going huddling in the wee kiosk box there. Super Mario and Caitlin, as they're called by me. Oh, and there's the ramp going down now. Let's see what happens here. Seems to be going to plan. Engine shutting down. Going to tick over. Having a good look to see. Making a minor adjustment. Just checking it's clearing the concrete there. Okay. Another look. Yeah, bring it down, that's what he's saying. One small step for man. One giant step for island kind. Oh, back up again. Having a think. Ferry's coming back a bit. Ramp's still up slightly. Yeah, he's happy, nodding. He's happy. Here I am in Copperwheat's coffee house, coffee shop, with Bob Haddle and me, Dave Rave. And I've rabbited enough about MV Alfred because I was out there filming, but Bob was down on the ground, closer to action than I was, and talking to people. Bob, what did you think about the ferry coming in and tying up and putting the ramp down and all the other, what other gossip did you hear when you were down there from anybody else?
Well, I think that we've got some tricky little bits of the boat to fix to give a better access for the cars and the trucks. Other than that, she's very wide, but so is the berth.
Yeah, it's a wide berth,
so
yeah.
In terms of getting into the berth, she'll need to be neat, quick, and she's got plenty of power to do that. So
Seemed like it.
Pretty good. Timing wise, she'll get in quicker than the big boats.
Yeah.
And of course, she can be practically pulled by hand because she's light at the stern.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as the berth is concerned, she'll do the job. It's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a little bit tricky for car drivers going on up the ramp and then turning to get in underneath the frame. Trucks wise, we're waiting to see whether we'll have Arctics with tractor units or whether we'll have shunters as they have on the other run. Mm-hmm. That's up to the management. Okay. Other than that, she fits, she runs, and let's hope it improves the services to Aaron and the Western Isles.
And I was right about the interchangeable ramp, wasn't I?
Yes.
It can swap sides.
I think he may need to do some further work.
Right, John, okay mate.
He may need to go into the dock and get some further steel work done to confirm that ramp on the basically on the starboard side rather than the port side.
Yeah.
And the handrail also. But other than that, it's a dinky toy job compared to the size of the ship.
Right, and there were a lot of people out there. There was the port manager, and I think his boss was there as well.
Yes.
And obviously the important ones from the ferry itself, and they all seem to have happy smiley faces as well, from what I could see.
There were no fights, no fisticuffs.
No.
Great agreement that we've got a boat that will rescue the ferry services to Arran this summer.
It looks fine. My only thing I wondered about, the ramp was quite wide and it didn't have a big clearance on that concrete.
Correct.
Well, yeah, they had to be careful with that, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, I think for future thoughts, the ramp might need to be a bit longer, so the boat sits further away from the terminal ramp.
Yes.
The design of these boats is as short a ramp as possible, and
Yeah.
that affects the tidal levels.
All right.
The tide in the Pentlands, I think, is less than here, which means that the ramp can be shorter.
Oh, I see. So it'll have to go up and down more at this one.
Well, it's longer. It's a question of best practice,
Yeah.
and the MCA has to improve it all.
And if they were berthing there, you know you can change the passenger and the car sides over, but
Yeah.
you'd still need a ramp on both sides to get people up, wouldn't you?
Not
would-
necessarily, no.
No.
You go up, the boat's wide enough to turn your car on.
I mean, like, yeah, but see when it came in at the back of the boat, the ramp's on the opposite side, the flap was on the
Yes.
opposite side from where it would
On
be.
the port side, we
It-
want on the starboard side.
Yes, but would you still need one on the other side there for the foot passengers as well?
That depends on I think from the look of it, the structure will accept a gangway somewhere off the existing gangway.
Right.
That needs to be
Oh,
re-engineered.
right. So they might be going on separately then.
Yes.
Okay.
The standard design in most countries is that you walk up the car ramp when you're a passenger.
Yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
And if the Calmac attitude was build this new facility at Brodick and have the passengers on a covered walkway all the way, and we understand that Rawson's a copy of Brodick.
Okay. So fingers crossed that should still work out all right then?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are only now hoping that things will turn out all right in Orkney with the boat going aground.
Well, that's the big story, and in fact, that's the overriding story now,
Yes.
isn't it? Because just as you and I were standing in the rain at 11 o'clock last night, at roughly the same time, that evening, the ferry that our ferry is being replaced by, I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? Any one of these three things happening, but all three things happened yesterday evening. It ran aground, it had a fire in the engine room, and it took in water, all on the same ferry in the same evening on the replacement boat that we need to keep running,
Yes.
or they might take our one back again.
Yes.
What do you think the chances are we're going to lose Alfred, Bob?
I don't know. I think that we maybe have an emergency situation where charter from Europe may take the case. There's certainly a number of boats in the Baltic which could run to Arran, and they're not the best of boats. And we've got one, of course, we've got one already on the Mull Run,
Right.
which Seymour bought, converted it, and it's running quite well.
Right.
So
Okay.
maybe that route.
So, I mean, I know you don't know because it's up in the air, but I did read in the newspaper in the Scotsman and the STV News that already there's a big question mark over Alfred remaining in Aaron's or even Calmac's possession.
Yes.
And it seems logical to me that unless there's some contract that we can't lose it, it's Pentland Ferry's ferry, isn't it?
Yes, and of course the insurance companies come in now with what's
Yeah.
happened to the Pantolina. They have to cover the insurance and pay if it's difficult.
Yes.
She's got to go to a dry dock.
Yes.
So there's a dry dock in Greenock, there's a dry dock in Wallsend, but they're both a long way away.
Right.
And you get into the one in Aberdeen and it's not maybe too busy.
Okay. So, well, insurance won't be a big deal for us, but certainly losing Alfred would be just so bad.
Yes.
Just when it looks like it was actually
Yes.
all working out nicely.
Yeah.
You couldn't write it, could
Watch
you?
this space till we see what happens next.
Okay. Well, I don't know what's going to happen next, Bob. I don't know if we're going to have any rendezvous coming up or not.
Oh, I think there'll be further excitement. I'm almost certain there'll be a boat arrive from probably Norway.
All right. Okay.
They have a surplus of Brodick, which is the equivalent of Calmac and Seymour. There's a big fleet, and maybe they could drop one off.
Well, fingers crossed. In the meantime, I hope you catch up in your sleep, Bob, because you were up late last night and then back in first thing, weren't you, with your
Yes.
garage?
Yes.
So you didn't probably get your shredded beets so much this
No,
morning.
I'm going home to have them now.
You're going to hold down. Okay. Nice one, Bob. There we go.
Right.
Cheers, mate.